What if the foundations of the Christian church, the very bedrock, actually go back way further than we usually think, like linked directly to someone revered by billions?
It's a fascinating thought, isn't it? A connection that stretches across millennia.
Welcome to the deep dive. We're here to, take complex sources, boil them down, and hopefully spark some of those aha moments for you.
That's the goal.
And today, our mission is, well, to unpack these really striking parallels between Abraham, the father figure of the Old Covenant, and St. Peter, the leader of the apostles in the New.
And this whole exploration, it's drawn from some really insightful analysis over at www.epistles.online.
Ah, yes, that site.
Genuinely a valuable spot for Catholics looking for that balanced view. Not leaning too modernist, but not ultra-traditionalist either. We really suggest you check it out afterwards for the full picture.
Absolutely. Our aim here today is for you to see Peter's role maybe in a new light, not as something totally separate, but as a direct continuation, a fulfillment, really, of what started way back with Abraham.
Exactly. It highlights this incredible lineage. And underpinning all of this is a powerful reminder, especially relevant perhaps for all Abrahamic faiths, Judaism, Christianity, Islam.
How so?
Well, it suggests that the authority God first gave to Abraham, it finds its continuation, its fulfillment in St. Peter. It's deeper than maybe we usually acknowledge.
Okay, let's get into it then. The source kicks things off by looking at how both these huge figures started their journeys with a blessing, right? A direct one from God.
That's the starting point. And these weren't just, have a nice day blessings. They were foundational. They set Abraham and Peter up as, well, key figures, fathers in a sense, for God's people in each covenant.
So Abraham first, what was his blessing like?
Monumental, really. Genesis tells us God Most High blessed him, the maker of heaven and earth, made him the father of nations, a pivotal piece in the whole salvation story. God even delivered his enemies to him. It wasn't just good fortune. It was an appointment, anointing him as a leader.
And then fast forward, centuries later, you see this echo with Peter.
A really strong echo. Jesus blesses Peter directly. And interestingly, it's not for an action Peter took, but for a truth revealed to him.
The who do you say I am moment.
Precisely. Matthew 16 captures it. Jesus says, "Blessed are you, Simon Bar-Jonah. Flesh and blood hasn't revealed this, but my Father in heaven." And then comes the big one. "And I tell you, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church, and the gates of Hades shall not prevail against it."
Wow. So the blessing establishes them both as leaders, one for the Old Covenant, one for the New.
It's this clear structural parallel, a divine appointment that resonates across history.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting for me. It wasn't just getting the blessing right, it was how they responded to God's call.
That's crucial. Their response, their faith in action.
Talk about Abraham first, that leap of faith he took.
It's incredible, isn't it? God says, leave everything you know, go to a place I haven't even shown you yet. And Abraham just does it.
No hesitation, no. Are you sure?
Apparently not. Immediate, unquestioning obedience. Hebrews 11 praises this specifically. By faith, Abraham obeyed. He went out, not knowing where he was to go. That level of trust is just staggering.
And Peter, similar kind of swiftness.
Very similar. Think about it. Jesus calls him by the shore, and bam, he leaves the nets, his livelihood, everything right there. Follows immediately.
And that initial leap carries through, doesn't it? He becomes the spokesman, the one who strengthens the others later on.
Absolutely. He steps up after the ascension, leads that first council in Jerusalem. His faith wasn't just personal. It was active, leading, foundational for the whole early church. Without that heroic, immediate yes from both of them, their missions just couldn't have happened.
Okay, so they're blessed. They respond with this amazing faith. What about the actual jobs God gave them? Their specific missions must be more than just be a leader.
Oh, much more specific. God lays out Abraham's mission very clearly in Genesis 12. Go from your country to the land I'll show you. I will make of you a great nation, bless you, make your name great, so that you will be a blessing.
So found a nation, and through that nation, bless the whole world. That's huge.
It's a global blueprint right from the start. And Peter's task. Equally specific, equally monumental in the New Covenant context.
The keys of the kingdom, what does that really mean practically?
Think of it like being given, well, the master key, the stewardship of a household or a kingdom. It's real authority. Jesus gives Peter the power to bind and loose, essentially, to govern the church, to teach in his name, to guard the faith. It's a direct delegation of Christ's own authority.
Not just symbolic then, real power to act.
Exactly. These weren't self-appointed roles. Both Abraham and Peter received direct divine mandates. They were tasked by God himself to carry out central parts of his plan.
And the source also highlights something else that marks this divine appointment, the name changes. That's always significant in the Bible, isn't it?
Always. A name change signals a deep shift, a new identity, a new destiny, divinely given.
So Abram becomes Abraham. Why?
God explicitly tells him why in Genesis 17. No longer Abram, your name shall be Abraham, for I have made you the father of a multitude of nations. The name itself reflects the mission. Father of many.
Tied directly to the promise.
Directly. And then you see the parallel with Simon,
Right. Jesus changes Simon's name to Peter.
which, as the source notes, means rock. Petros in Greek, Kepha or Cephas in the Aramaic, Jesus likely spoke. It's not subtle. Matthew 16 just has Jesus say, "You are Peter, rock."
Marking him as the foundation stone for the church he's about to build.
Precisely. These aren't nicknames. They're divinely ordained titles reflecting their essential roles in God's plan. Their new names sealed their new destinies.
Okay, another parallel the source brings up is about victory. Promises of triumph over enemies.
Yes, that's another strong link. God didn't just send them out. He promised them success, security.
For Abraham.
God promised his descendants would possess the gates of their enemies. That's from Genesis 22. Possessing the gate meant controlling the city, total victory, enduring power.
And for Peter, or rather the church built on Peter.
Jesus gives that incredibly powerful promise in Matthew 16. The gates of Hades shall not prevail against it. Against the church founded on Peter, the rock.
So the forces of death, of evil, won't ultimately win against the church.
Exactly. The symbolism of gates is key. For Abraham, maybe more about earthly power. For Peter and the church, it's about spiritual, eternal victory. An assurance that the church, built on this rock, will endure forever.
Now, this next point from the source is maybe the most striking one, and it might surprise some people about Abraham. Both are called rock.
Yes. For Peter, it's obvious, right? His name literally is rock. Kepha, Petros. He's the visible foundation stone of the church Jesus builds.
But Abraham, how is he called rock?
It's right there in Isaiah chapter 51. The prophet tells the people of Israel, God's people under the old covenant, look to the rock from which you were hewn. Look to Abraham, your father.
Wow. So Abraham is the original bedrock, the source.
In a spiritual sense, absolutely. He's the quarry, the source material from which God's first covenant people were formed. It's not just poetry. It identifies him as their foundational origin.
Okay, so if Abraham is the rock from which you were hewn for the old covenant, what does it mean when Peter becomes the rock for the new? It's not like Peter replaces Abraham, is it?
No, not replacement, more like fulfillment and continuation. Think of it this way. God is building one continuous structure. Abraham laid the original foundation, the spiritual bedrock for God's people. Peter then becomes the specific, visible cornerstone for the next phase of that structure, the church, built firmly upon that Abrahamic heritage, but now fulfilling it in Christ.
So Peter's role builds on Abraham's.
Exactly. It raises that question. How does Peter assume this rock mantle in the new covenant? It's by fulfilling what started with Abraham, carrying forward God's unchanging plan.
So putting all these pieces together, the blessings, the heroic responses, the specific missions, the name changes, the promises of victory, both being called rock, it paints a really clear picture, doesn't it?
It really does. These aren't just random similarities. The source argues they show the church isn't some radical break, but a direct, organic continuation of God's salvation plan.
What God started with Abraham.
He fulfilled in his son, Jesus Christ, and then he entrusted the continuation of that mission, the keys to that kingdom, specifically to Peter.
So Peter's role isn't newfangled, it's the appointed fulfillment.
Precisely. And this is the core message, a vital reminder perhaps for everyone tracing their faith roots back to Abraham, Jews, Christians, Muslims.
Which is?
That the authority first entrusted to Abraham, that foundational role, finds its designated fulfillment and continuation in St. Peter. Jesus, the Messiah promised by the prophets, he explicitly delegated his authority to Peter, the rock, the one he built his church upon.
And that authority didn't just end with Peter, did it?
No, that's crucial. That very same authority, the power of the keys, has been passed down, handed on through the centuries, an unbroken line of successors.
Right up to the present day.
Right up to today. That authority now rests with Pope Leo XIV. He was elected by the cardinals back on May 8th, 2025. As the vicar of Christ, he holds that same power to bind and unbind that Jesus gave to Peter, You see it right there in Matthew 16:19.
So this succession, it's more than just symbolic history.
Oh, much more. It's a living sign, a visible reality of God's ongoing covenant faithfulness. It's a tangible reminder that the new covenant truly is the fulfillment of what God initiated way back with Abraham.
So thinking about all this, what does it mean for you, the listener? How does understanding this connection change how you see the whole sweep of faith history?
It potentially recasts the entire narrative, doesn't it? Seeing it not as separate chapters, but one continuous story.
Yeah. So just to recap this deep dive, we've seen these incredible intentional parallels between Abraham and Peter. It really shows how God's plan unfolds consistently, building across history, leading to the church founded on Peter.
It's a powerful illustration of continuity. And maybe here's a final thought for you to mull over. Consider this unbroken chain of authority, stretching all the way from Abraham through Peter right down to the present day with Pope Leo XIV. How might seeing that continuity reshape your understanding of God's providence, of how his covenant with humanity endures?
That's a great point to reflect on. It's not just ancient history, it's a living reality.
Absolutely.
And if you want to dig deeper into all this, get the full context, see the detailed arguments, we really do recommend visiting www.epistles.online.
Yes, the author there does a great job providing that balanced perspective we mentioned, grounded, thoughtful, avoiding extremes. It's a really solid resource.
He works hard to provide that content, and the apostolate relies on support.
That's right. So we warmly invite you, if you find this work valuable, please consider supporting it, whether through prayers, maybe sharing posts you find helpful, or even subscribing. Every bit helps keep the mission going and keeps the content freely available.
Your support really does make a difference. And finally, please do subscribe to the Catholic Epistles podcast wherever you listen. That way you won't miss our future deep dives.